The text came through at 3 a.m., just after I'd finished my 14-hour shift on the rig. My hands were still greasy, the sweat from the heat still clinging to my skin. I hadn't even realized how tired I was until I read those words. I'm leaving you and moving to Palm Springs with my 25-year-old babe. I'm taking all our money with me. I stared at the screen, my heart feeling like it dropped into my stomach. This wasn't just a text. It felt like a punch to the gut. Krista, my wife of 18 years, had always been my constant, the one thing I thought I could count on. And now she was telling me she was leaving me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone across the room, punch the wall until my knuckles bled. But instead I just sat there stunned. The words blurred in front of me, but the weight of them didn't fade. I wasn't sure if it was the exhaustion from the heat or the shock, but I couldn't move. Another message popped up, a screenshot of our joint account balance, and instead of the usual 6 figures, there was a measly $142,000. I don't know why, but she had added a little kiss emoji like she was telling me some cute little joke. I couldn't breathe. But then, I did the one thing I never thought I would. I typed a response, not out of anger, but out of something else, something I can't explain. Sure, good luck. I turned my phone off, trying to stop the storm of thoughts from spinning in my head. I couldn't let it consume me, not here. Not now. I needed to get back to work, to focus. So I did. I went straight to the shower, trying to wash off whatever had settled in my bones. But it didn't work. Not even the scalding water could make me feel clean again. I stared at the screen, my eyes refusing to believe what they were seeing. Along with her message, Krista had attached a screenshot of our joint account. The balance was barely a fraction of what it should have been. $142,000, just gone. I should have felt something. Anger, panic, betrayal. But all I could do was sit there, numb, watching the numbers swim in front of my eyes like they weren't even real. My chest tightened and my mind raced, but outwardly, nothing. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't hurl it against the wall like I wanted to. I didn't scream or punch anything. I just typed, "Sure, good luck." I hit send without even thinking, as if those words somehow could carry the weight of everything I wanted to say. I turned off the phone and let it fall to the bed, the silence pressing in like a heavy blanket. The emptiness in my chest felt strange, like I was in shock, but I didn't know what else to feel. I had to stay focused. I had a job to do. Krista's betrayal would have to wait. The next day, I woke up with the same heaviness in my chest. But I didn't let it show. The heat on the rig was unforgiving, the constant buzz of machinery filling my ears, and the sweat pouring down my face was the only thing that felt real. I went about my day just like every other day. I didn't mention Krista. I didn't mention the text, the money, or the betrayal. The guys on the rig noticed something was off when I skipped breakfast and went straight to work, but none of them asked. They knew better. Personal stuff stayed personal, especially when you're 6,000 miles from home. But then I checked my email during lunch. My stomach dropped when I saw her name in the inbox. Krista had already filed for divorce. She was accusing me of abandoning our marriage, blaming it all on my overseas work schedule. It wasn't just the message that hit me, it was the fact that she'd already moved on. She'd taken the first step to tear apart everything we had, without even giving me a chance to respond. I closed the laptop without responding. There was nothing to say. The damage had already been done. I didn't need to tell anyone. I just had to finish the job. It was the only thing I had control over right now. As the hours dragged on, the weight of Krista's actions began to sink in. But I couldn't let it distract me, not yet. The situation was still unfolding and I needed a plan, something more than just passive acceptance. That night, after another grueling shift, I sat in my quarters, knowing I had to act fast. I opened my laptop and fired off an email to Brendan, my cousin in Houston. We'd used that code phrase for years. Protocol Winter. No explanation needed. It was a signal and he'd know exactly what to do. 3 minutes later, the reply came through, already on it. Don't respond until you're stateside. I felt a small sense of relief. Brendan was handling it quietly and professionally, just like I knew he would. But no one else would know. Not yet. The guys on the rig didn't need to know anything. It was just another day of work, another rotation. I buried the anger, the betrayal deep inside. I didn't talk about it. I didn't let it show. I had too much riding on this, and I wasn't about to let Krista's mess affect my focus. I could feel the plan unfolding in the background, a calm before the storm. As I sat there, my mind started drifting, remembering how it all began. It was hard not to. Krista and I had met when I was 33, already deep in the oil business, and she was at the register of a small fishing supply store in Odessa. I remember how she laughed at my bad jokes and how easy it felt to talk to her. She was sharp, full of life, and so different from the women I'd known. We got married quickly, not out of haste, but because it felt like the natural next step. At that time, I believed we were building something strong. But looking back, I should have seen it coming. The first cracks appeared around the 12th year of our marriage. Small things, nothing huge. Complaints about missed birthdays, questions about whether I really needed to take that Saudi contract. Comments about how her friends' husbands were always around for dinner parties. I brushed it off as her being lonely, as the inevitable cost of my work. But as the years went on, it didn't stay small. Her calls became shorter, and she stopped asking when I'd be home. She stopped sending me photos of what she was doing during my time away. And it wasn't just that, she started to change. Her energy shifted, like she was waiting for something. I tried to ignore it, convinced that this was just the evolution of a long-distance marriage. It wasn't until last Christmas that I felt it. I came home to a completely redecorated house. New furniture, new paint, everything different. When I asked her about it, she just shrugged and said, "You needed a change." But it wasn't just the house that had changed, it was her. And I had missed it. It wasn't until I returned from this rotation that the full extent of Krista's betrayal hit me. As I sorted through emails and bank statements, I noticed something strange. Transfers, small at first, then bigger ones, all from our joint account to another account I didn't recognize. My stomach tightened as I scrolled through the records, thousands of dollars disappearing, no explanation, no warning. But that wasn't all. I dug deeper, pulling up more records, and my heart sank. Krista had taken out a home equity loan under my name. It wasn't just a few thousand, it was $40,000. She'd forged my signature to do it. I felt the weight of it all, the anger, the disbelief. The realization that she hadn't just been distant. She'd been planning this. Piece by piece, she had been dismantling everything we'd built, and I hadn't even seen it. The emotional wound was deeper now, sharper. This wasn't just about her leaving me anymore. It was about the trust that had been ripped away, the future I thought we were building together now gone, replaced by a cold, calculated betrayal. And I was left standing here, unable to escape it. The more Brendan dug, the darker the picture became. He called me late one night, his voice steady but tinged with something I couldn't quite place. "Miles, I've been digging into Devon," he said, his words heavy with implication. "This guy's done this before. 3 times actually." I felt a cold chill run through me. 3 other women, all financially stable just like Krista, all taken in by his charm. They'd fallen for him, only for him to vanish once their money had been drained. The pattern was unmistakable, and it wasn't just bad luck. This was deliberate. "Devon's history is unsettling," Brendan continued. "It looks like he's always targeted women with money. He doesn't stick around long. He moves on when it's all been spent." The pieces were starting to fall into place. Krista hadn't just woken up one day and decided to leave me. She'd been planning this for months, maybe even over a year. She'd been playing her part, pretending to be the loving wife, all while plotting her escape with a man who had done this exact thing before. I sat there in silence, the weight of the realization sinking in. Krista hadn't just betrayed me in the most personal way possible. She had been part of a bigger plan, and I was just another mark. Another woman's mistake was now my nightmare. The phone rang in the dead of night, cutting through the silence of my quarters. I almost didn't want to check it, but something told me I needed to. It was Krista. I hesitated, then played the voicemail on speaker. Her voice cracked as if she was on the verge of tears. "Miles, please. I need you to call the bank. There's been a misunderstanding with our account. I was just moving money to a safer investment like we talked about. But the bank froze everything and I can't access any funds. Please call them and tell them it's okay. I'm really scared." I stood there, phone in hand, frozen. The manipulation was blatant. She wasn't just playing the victim. She was begging me, twisting the truth, trying to make me feel responsible for something I hadn't even known about. I had trusted her. I had sent her money, supported her, and now she was using every ounce of that trust to pull me back in, to make me believe that this was all just a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. It never was. The depth of her deception hit me like a slap to the face. She wasn't scared. She wasn't the one in trouble. She was just playing her part in a game I had no control over. And now I had to accept that this was who she really was. The courtroom was quiet, the kind of silence that weighs down on you, making every breath feel like it echoes. I sat across from Krista and her lawyer, my lawyer Thomas beside me, and I couldn't help but notice how calm she looked, almost too calm, as if she'd already won. But I knew the truth. I knew what had been happening behind closed doors, what she'd been doing while I was out there working on the rig. And today in this room the truth was about to come out. Thomas started presenting the evidence, piece by piece. Bank records, forged documents, text messages, all showing Krista's calculated plan to take everything I had. The evidence was irrefutable, each document and message pulling the rug out from under her carefully constructed story. She tried to paint me as the villain, the absentee husband, but the truth painted a different picture. She had been the one orchestrating it all. When the judge reached the section about the forged documents, specifically the paperwork for the home equity loan, Krista's face lost its color. Her lawyer fidgeted, but it was too late. The damage had been done. The judge didn't hesitate. "Mrs. Harrington," she said, her voice cold, "this is not a case of simple negligence. This is premeditated financial manipulation. The evidence is clear." I could see the panic rising in Krista's eyes, but it was too late for her. The lies had been exposed. Her claims for spousal support were dismissed, and most satisfying of all, the judge ordered the immediate return of the assets she had stolen. For the first time in months I felt like I could finally breathe. The weight that had been crushing me lifted, and I couldn't help but feel a bitter sense of triumph. Krista had tried to break me, but today the truth had won. The days that followed the courtroom felt different. Lighter somehow. The weight of Krista's betrayal was still there, lurking in the background, but it no longer held the power it once did. The legal battles were over. My assets had been returned, and Krista, well, she was no longer a part of my life, not in any meaningful way. I found myself standing on the porch of my cabin in the mountains, looking out over the vast expanse of trees and meadow that stretched out before me. This was my space now, my retreat. It was where I could finally breathe without the suffocating pressure of the past closing in on me. The cabin had been part of my plan all along, though I hadn't realized how much I needed it until now. It was a sanctuary, a place to find peace, far from the chaos I'd left behind. Krista's life, the one she tried to build at my expense, was no longer my concern. I had built something new, something that was mine, free from the lies and manipulation. As the sun set behind the mountains, I poured myself a glass of bourbon and sat on the porch swing I'd built with my own hands. The quiet was soothing. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I wasn't waiting for a call, for a message, for the next betrayal. I was just here. And for the first time I was at peace. The emotional scars from my past were still there, but they didn't control me anymore. They were part of my story now, part of the man I had become. And that man was ready for whatever came next, on his own terms.